right, thank you all for coming tonight. It's under here. All right, the first thing we're going to have is a public hearing on the tentative budget. We can seek comments from the public on your opinions or anything that you would like to address the board, not each other about as far as the budget goes. So, at this time, does anyone have any comments about the tentative budget as been presented? Okay, so we'll close that public hearing on the tentative budget, and now we'll open the public hearing on the proposed Time Warner Cable franchise agreement. I will tell you that the original franchise agreement that we received and that we had before us at the last board meeting was for a period of 15 years. That was 5 more years than the previous agreement. That being 10 years, I did contact Time Warner Cable and they said, no problem, and have submitted a subsequent franchise agreement for a 10-year period. Everything else in the agreement remains the same. However, it'll have to be reviewed again in 10 years, so it gives us that option. And at the present time, it appears like the company is providing adequate functional service to the village. If there's anyone has any comments on it, whether we should not or should either in support of or against the proposed franchise agreement, please let us know, or any board member have anything to say about it. All right, then we'll close that public hearing on the Time Warner Cable franchise agreement and move on to our regular meeting. And at this time, we would entertain any comments from the public about any topic you would like to address the board with.
John Cooper.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to thank the mayor for being reappointed to the planning board committee, and I just want to know that I'd like to have the board recognize my members, which of course is Tom Bath, Mrs. Hall, Don Glad, and Chucky Roush. They've done a good job for myself and for the village for quite a few years here, and I'd just like to have them get a little recognition.
Thank you. We will definitely see to that. Okay. Any other comments? Okay, I would need a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting from this April 4th.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, we'd like to review the bills now. And we've had them for some time. I need a motion to approve paying those bills.
Are there any additions or deletions?
No, but there is a supplemental list that we passed out.
This came in.
Okay.
Should have a copy of that.
Make motion to pay the bills? Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. All right, Madam Clerk, we have some correspondence.
Yes, we do. The first is a letter from the Rotary Club of Champlain Rouses Point, dated March 31st. To whom it may concern, last year the Champlain Rouses Point Rotary hosted the first annual Mother-Son Dinner Dance event. This event came to fruition due to our widely popular fall event, annual Father-Daughter Dance, and moms wanted a chance to get into the action too. This particular event ties in greatly with our mission of reaching the youth in our community by allowing them a chance at a very special evening. This evening will sons of all kinds to have a special experience with their moms of all kinds while also enjoying some recreational activities like dancing, crafts, etc. On May 13, 2016, the Champlain Rouses Point Rotary will host its second annual Mom-Son event. Events like these provide relationship building opportunities for the children while also teaching them interpersonal skills and allowing them to have some entertaining excitement that sometimes gets lost in the day-to-day activities. This year, we are hoping to offer a unique experience to our younger attendees while simultaneously encouraging advanced ticket sales. We would like everyone to purchase a ticket by May 7th, 2016, to be entered into a special drawing, whereas the child winner would receive a special fire truck ride along with a fireman's outfit and other goodies. We will also be giving the mom a special treatment package too. This is why we are hopeful that your fire department will participate by offering a VIP pickup and escorting the young gent to the dinner dance event. I hope that you will genuinely consider supporting the second annual Mother-Son event in this unique way. With your help, the Champlain Rouses Point Rotary can continue to thrive and ensure the longevity of the future events like these. Thank you for consideration, and I look forward to working with you. Sincerely, Molly Ryan, President.
Okay,
On,
absolutely.
on this Rotary, the reason why we got it, they sent it to the fire department. And the fire department thinks that it should come up to the village because of the insurance purposes to ride the guy, that kid in the fire truck.
I also talked to the chief tonight, and he'd like to know where we're picking up the kid, and where we're bringing it to. Doesn't say on here.
They go to the American Legion on Pratt Street.
Like he says, you don't want to go to Plattsburgh, pick up the kid and bring him.
No, if the kid is picked from Ross's Point, the Ross's Point Fire Department will pick him up. If the kid is from Champlain, the Champlain Fire Department will pick him up.
I didn't say that necessarily.
No, that's why, yeah. I got a letter from Kevin Chagnon. He sent the letter to this other guy, another guy in charge of the Rotary. And Kevin sent it back to me. I should have brought it down. I'm sorry.
So wherever the kid's from, that department brings him to the Legion.
Right.
Okay,
So the village isn't liable if he comes from Champlain, because,
they'll be,
you know,
Champlain Fire Department will be transporting, we're gonna transport a Rouse's Point resident.
Right.
Would someone like to make a motion that we approve this and notify the Rotary Club of Champlain Rouse's Point that the Rouse's Point Fire Department will transport it? We spoke to the chiefs and they said that would happen as all those questions were answered.
I don't know, did Champlain agree on it, or Moores or something like that?
I don't know if they did or not.
We can only go with this, what we'll do here.
I'd like to make a motion,
You send a letter?
to send a letter out saying if the kid is in the village, the fire department will bring him to the Legion.
Second, okay. Discussion, further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried, and I'd ask that a letter be prepared and
Yes.
my signature sent.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next is a letter from the New York State Department of Transportation to the village administrator. Dear Ms. LeBombard, the New York State Department of Transportation has completed the investigation regarding the request for a reduced speed limit on US Route 11 in the village of Rouse's Point, approximately 1.9 miles in length, give or take. This portion of US Route 11 has a posted linear speed limit of 30 miles per hour. On a highway that New York State DOT investigates, the need for a reduced speed limit is based on a thorough investigation of many factors, including roadway characteristics, roadside development, accident history, consultation with the traffic sergeant of the New York State Police, and the statistical analysis of prevailing speeds as determined by a laser speed survey. The results of this investigation show that a further reduction of the speed limit is not warranted at this time. Thank you for bringing your concerns to New York State DOT's attention. If you have any questions regarding this determination, please call Garth Yando. Sincerely, Kenneth Biddens, sorry. And that's what.
Okay, so New York State DOT conducted that investigation and said our speed limit of 30 miles an hour is proper for our village, and it stays that way.
Mr. Mayor, can I have a comment? to that?
Absolutely.
I had actually went to the board and to the administration to ask that study to be done. However, the only target area I was talking about was in the downtown area only. And somebody from a previous administration took a call from the state asking him or her, what would be the area that you want covered? He said, all the way from the Champlain Fire District end by the railroad trestle all the way over to Route 2. And I think that's a big reason why it got tanked, because there was no need to reduce it on Route 11. And I'm just talking about a small portion of downtown, so.
Okay?
Thank you.
Well, I think the study speaks for itself. I know historically this has been the speed limit here for some time. I don't believe there's been any serious accident as a result of that speed. I think, I don't know, but I believe that's one of the factors that they take in. They look at the historical data. So, certainly appreciate, looking into that and having them.
I'm happy with their comments and their findings.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, we'll move into the reports. With the pleasure of starting that. The first thing we're going to have is a presentation by Lisa Turner, Supervisory Public Health Educator of Benton County. Jan Turner, Recreation Leader, Rouses Point, discussed the Healthy Neighborhoods Fund Initiative grant. We received correspondence on this at the last board meeting. However, we didn't have anyone to question or talk to, so I believe we do now. So all of you or some of you want to come up and tell us where we're at on this thing?
Well, I'm Jan Turno, and I would like to introduce Karen DeRusha and Sarah Allen from the Clayton County Health Department, and they have more information on the background of the monies that are available for our proposal, and probably are better suited to answer your questions, so if you give them your attention. Thank you.
We did bring some pictures to help bring things out a little bit.
Thank you.
Are you interested in, this is the proposal for extending the walkway and the rec center.
Oh, okay.
So basically, we have a grant at the health department. We received it last year from the New York State Health Foundation. And it's got 3 focus areas, one of which is to enhance and activate areas that provide opportunities for physical activity for residents of Clinton County. Within that grant application, we had identified several places within the county where we felt we needed to do we wanted to do some outreach. A lot of that was based on, we have a tendency to stay in the greater Plattsburgh area. So we wanted to make sure that our reach with this grant was out to some of the areas that were a little bit further from that Plattsburgh center. The idea of enhancing and activating spaces for physical activity is across the age spectrum. So trails and paths fit that criteria very well. And we've done some other work. We've been working actually with the town of Plattsburgh to enhance the Katie'ville trail system that they have. We've done things like put markers on the trails, done some mapping with them, provided them with a sign so that they can put up their trail map, and just basically made that trail a little bit more usable. It's not a grant, this is not a grant where we're looking to get grant applications from communities as much as it is a grant where we're trying to identify and then support activities within communities. So the funders do not require us to ask for a grant application. However, when we're moving money from the county to a community, the county may look to have us do some type of simple grant application to kind of lay out what we're doing and then set up a memorandum of understanding. So I just wanted to make sure that while there isn't a grant application where you would need to apply and set forth your ideas for what you're doing, what we'd like to do is kind of come to a consensus on whether this is something that you're interested in, and if it is, how we can support that and make sure that it can happen in the community. What we've talked about is what you have in front of you. came out of some discussions that Jan had with people here, that Lisa had with some of the community members. And as I said, trails are one of the things that we really like to work on. And just doing an extension of the existing pathway that's around the rec center to this orange area, which I guess is about 0.2 miles. In terms of some of the other things that you can see on the map, when we've got trails, one of the things that encourages people to use trails even more is when they have opportunities for other physical activities. So a lot of times you'll put trail amenities or pockets of activity along those trails. So what you're seeing is some stumps. We actually have some better pictures here. Just some different things that can be added to a trail or a path to make it more inviting. I don't know if people can see that well, but to make it more inviting for families or children to use the path. That's not something that we necessarily need to worry about right off, but I guess in this vision, I'd just like to say that it would be nice to see this be something that once the path is developed, that those additional steps might be able to be taken somewhere along the line to increase its use even more. I do think that this, I had taken a look at your website and saw your waterfront revitalization plan and was happy to see in there that there was some information written in about increasing the paths around this area. And so basically along the north side of the Civic Center. It also referenced I lost my thought there, I'm sorry. But just having this idea of being able to really increase the beauty of the land that you have right here now and the usability of it by putting a path in. What we're looking for in terms of a connection with the village is just conceptually that you like the idea that this is something that you think that residents of Rouses Point would like, it's something that they would use. So we wanted to feel you out on that aspect of it. Some of the things that we might need as we move forward is just some pre-intervention data so that we had a sense of how much use the path is getting now. And then at the end of the project, we'd be looking to collect some additional data on how much use it's getting after it's extended. A commitment in terms of possibly some of your expertise as far as what you know about the existing path that's out there, whether there are any resources that the village might be able to share. We don't know whether that path was, how that was constructed, and I don't know if anybody here has some knowledge of how that path was constructed and whether any village equipment was used on it, or whether we might be able to coordinate something like that. Possibly a willingness to search for additional funds if you did want to do some of the expansion and put those pockets of activity. We could work with you to look at what other funding is available and maybe reach out to try to get some of that type of funding to increase the use of this even a little bit more. And then promoting it once the trail is in place. Just seeing that there's promotion of it throughout the community and within the village, maybe holding some events that, you know, a walk sometimes or something that's already happening here in the village, maybe having it in the area of the path and just having an opportunity to promote that. There are other things that... Okay, we did talk to, I actually had a conversation with Harry McManus today, who's aware that we were proposing this and is working on the path between Rouses Point and Champlain. And said that he would ask Al Rasto to come up from the Highway Department and take a look at the area. and see what he thought in terms of how that might move forward as a project, and if there was any assistance that could be provided by the county for that effort.
Questions?
Yeah, I mean, concerns. I noticed some of the pictures, you got rocks really high. But I'm worried about, there's a lot of kids that play over here by themselves a lot. I'm worried about going up on top, falling off and injuring themselves.
And those are definitely,
Yeah,
sorry,
that's right.
those are definitely just kind of inspiration pictures to give you an idea of the types of things that have happened in different parks and
Okay.
playgrounds around the country. None of them are anything that you have to commit to at all. It was just sort of a general idea of the different elements of play that people tend to like to see. Things that they can climb on is a big draw for kids. And you know, if you know that you have kind of a younger age group or that type of risk is a concern, you don't install something that's super high.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
And that backfield over there is awful, like your house, Brian, behind there is awful wet, a lot. I don't know if that'd have to be
That's being tiled, Bill, right? It's being tiled, to drainage.
one that solves it. I mean,
Yeah.
We noticed, when I walked it last week, there's 3 wet spots. One is the north end where they're gonna do the tiling, at the north end of the soccer field and baseball fields. They're gonna tile that this summer, as soon as they can, Cody said. There's a wet spot in front of the bathrooms over by the girls softball field, which is pretty deep. I would think that the village would want to fill that in anyway, because when we have softball games in the summer, the kids need to use the bathroom. So right now, it's like a small pond between the bleachers and where the bathroom is. And then the third area of wetness, it's kind of damp all along there, but when you get over to the pathway that goes to Veterans Park, where that would juncture right there at the turn is damp. So I don't know if that's from just the ground sinking from when they changed it to Veterans Park and covered in the ditch with the culvert or whatever. I'm not really sure what's causing all that, so.
Is there your plans to have it start this year, or is it just something you're looking into, or?
This, actually, our funding for this grant runs through January of 2017, so we would be looking at this year, yeah.
Are you aware of the amount of funding you're getting at, total amount?
Actually, we have monies. What we would like to do is look at what the costs for this would be. And I have to say, I'm no expert on paths. We just the other day, we started to grab some quotes for this type of work. We're still working through that. I would like to be able to say that we would be able to put down the asphalt, or whether it's asphalt or another material, because there are other options, be able to get that down for you with maybe some help in terms of equipment or time of some of your workforce. So we don't have a specific amount that I would want to say, we'll be able to give this amount, but what we would like to do is to see that.
So the path is definitely a starting point for us, as in, you know, the first thing that you would do.
Yeah, in terms of phasing this, the path is
Right.
really what you want to get.
Phase 1 would be the path.
Would be the path. And then, you know, the current grant that we have at the health department will run out in January 2017. This particular funder may be offering another round. Actually, I have a conference call tomorrow. I'll learn a little bit more about that. Although they did say that they didn't necessarily anticipate that they would have these larger amounts of money available within that next round of funding. However, I think if the path comes to fruition, certainly we would be positioned either through that grant or through other work that we do at the health department to assist you in finding funding if you wanted to put those other amenities along the path. A good example is the Eastern Adirondack Healthcare Network, almost every year, hopefully things won't change next year, but has offered, you know, in the neighborhood of $3,000 to communities to do something for the 55 and older age group. One of the things that we find with paths and trails is that if there are benches along them, that encourages folks who might be a little bit older to walk more. And so I know they put a lot of benches along some of the other trails. So that's something that we could probably tap into for some benches, and I think similarly, we could look at some other funding sources for the more child-centered things that might go along the path.
So there should be no cash coming out of the village, is that what you're saying?
Right, yeah. So
Other
we would-
than,
Or,
Well, understanding that if you were to help with the preparation of the ground, that there is a cost to you for that in terms of manpower
Right.
and what you would pay
it
that
depends how
person.
busy they are too.
Right,
what they got.
exactly, yeah.
And would that path be as wide as the ones that's out there now, or wider, or?
That's a good question. One of the things that we've been hearing is that in terms of the equipment for putting down asphalt, that if you're gonna do a less than 8-foot path, you have to have the equipment that will do a less than,
Right.
you can't use your 8-foot equipment to do a 5-foot path. So I don't know what, if there is equipment that the village has or has access to, or,
I don't believe the village doesn't have
Okay.
any paving equipment, the county has our paving now.
The county does it. So in the conversation, I think it was when I was talking to Rodney, he thought that the county would only have equipment to do an 8-foot path. And we can follow up on that, which we do think that that was probably gonna create some potential concerns if we had to go with a wider path, that we might wanna try to figure out a way to do the 5-foot path, which is what you've got now, and do a better match. So we're still in the process of trying to figure out what can be done. We had gotten one quote in, it was actually fairly high, but then we realized that we had been talking about the wider path at that point, and we gave them a longer distance. So we're waiting for a quote to come back on that. The other thing is we can look at other options besides asphalt. There is something called chip seal, it's what they used on the path down in Peru, which doesn't get laid down the same way as asphalt. My understanding is that over time it becomes like asphalt because of the use on it, but that's about as much as I know about that. I'm, as I said, learning as we go. But there might be some other options that we can look at that possibly don't need that same equipment.
How wide are their paths, Peru and that stuff?
Peru's is actually 10 feet wide, yeah. Little bit different situation. I mean, they were really thinking that they wanted to be able to have people going
Right,
both
cars.
ways on the path. They've got slightly more bicycles using that path than I would probably foresee happening here.
This would be mostly pedestrian.
Yeah, and 5 feet would be okay within ADA compliance.
In reviewing the correspondence from last week, it mentioned that you're looking to do things for an underserved population. I think our youth are not underserved here. I think having a path with things for little kids is not what we need. The path in itself, as trustee Dart said, is a great starting point, just to have walking, but in many of the communities I've lived in, they might call them a fitness trail or a fitness path, and they're heavy-duty little things that adults can do. It might be stepping over something or stepping up. There may be pull-ups, but it would give a person walking, an adult walking, the opportunity to perhaps do a little something besides watch TV. And so I don't think, I don't think we're gonna have adults climbing on the rocks and going through tunnels like we have here. I think we ought to, in the future, we might focus on moving back to the path itself. Since the grant runs out in January 2017, we would have to probably hear from our public works supervisor to tell us, if everything's already been scheduled all summer and there's absolutely nothing available, or if there's a possibility that something's available. And I guess for clarity, if you don't know, Brian, I'm not gonna put you on the spot now, but if you know, is there a possibility that we could provide some equipment and/or workers for this? Or are you pretty much scheduled out?
I can see digging out the sod and the topsoil and putting the stone down 5 foot wide. We have equipment that is 5 foot wide, our skid steers.
Okay.
Laying the asphalt, it's a specialty item to lay asphalt. The last time they had somebody here was like 15, 20 years ago, and they had a paver that was made for 5 foot.
Right.
unfortunately, we don't have anything like that, or I don't even, you know, we would have to go out and
Well, the grant would have to go out and pay for that.
try to get somebody. But if we can, get the material here and stockpile, you know, on days, on like, I could designate like one day a week where the crew would come down like on a Friday or a Friday afternoon and just blast out as much as they can.
Yeah.
Then we'll continue our regular work during the week.
Okay, so the
I mean, it's-
possibility
it's-
exists.
What about volunteers?
I don't know why not, but I think, like you said, that I don't know if the village is gonna let a volunteer run skid steer, I mean,
No, well, I mean, say it's like, level out the stone and stuff like that, or whatever, break the stone out and.
well, is in general, what does the board think as an idea of having an extended path like this? And it would primarily be focused on getting more adults using the facility down here. Is that something we're interested in seeing?
I don't have a problem.
I think it's a great idea.
I think it is too.
I know 2 adults that already said that they'd use it, you know, so I think once the word gets out, I think a lot of adults that walk will use this as an option up here at this end of the village.
Especially if you got the kids on the swing or something.
That's a good point, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, if there already is a playground facility
Yeah.
that's pretty well, it's geared for younger kids and they
They walk,
can use
they
that.
still see the kids playing.
Yeah,
and-
yeah.
One of the things that it would do is there's currently no way to get to the girls softball field except through the tall grass or the wet grass or whatever. And if you're a parent with a child in a stroller and you're trying to push them out there, it's pretty difficult. So this would provide access for families that are going out to the girls softball field. The boys field is pretty well prepared, it's got a little bit of sidewalk on both sides, so it allows access that way, to allow access to the farthest side of the soccer fields, coming from the other direction. And then what we also calculated was, once the loop is complete, it'd be just about a half mile, maybe a little bit more than a half mile all around the loop. So if we did something like Karen said, maybe for the 4th of July, we could have a little, maybe not a race, but you could have a walk, and you could say, okay, look, this is, you know, if you do the whole loop, it's a half mile. So if you're trying to get in, you know, a certain distance to burn calories 2 times around, or something like that, so.
I don't have a problem.
Okay, well, I guess, yeah, from what I'm hearing, and I agree, I think the board would be interested in seeing what, you know, what you come up with, you know, from Clinton County, what Mr. Rasco comes up with for a cost.
Okay.
Like I said, our public works supervisor has told us that, you know, that they did the preparation and had contracted out the paving for the previous path, so, and, it's great that they have the willingness to, you know, to be able to at least remove the sod and maybe spread some of that down, so you could count that in. So with that in mind, I think we could urge you to proceed and
Okay.
see what kind of time frame you come up with. We understand you have to understand it's a short one for us,
Yeah.
but I think the benefits for the village residents certainly would be good, particularly the adults, so, getting people outside is what we wanna do, so.
Okay, good. And there are, we did bring some of these things that are a little more child-centered in terms of what you can put up alongside, but there's a multitude of choices in terms of adults.
Well, we have to get the path constructed first, I think, that would be the
Yeah.
first, that'd be a big step, so.
Yeah.
Well, we thank you for your comments, yeah, go ahead, sir.
Dan, with your blessing, I'll volunteer to be the liaison contact for the project, to stay on top of things and report back to the board.
It's fine with me.
That's
The board,
great.
you guys all happy with that?
Yeah.
He's throwing himself on the sword, so to speak, so,
It's all
we'll
yours.
have to do that, so you'll probably be hearing from Ms. Turner and Mrs. Letourneau. Good luck with that. I mean that in the best possible way, So, and Brian, would you be available for them to ask you questions? I mean, he's pretty busy, but, you know, responsive, so he's our public works supervisor, and he can basically tell you what's going on, so. We look forward to hearing maybe in a month or so what you guys have come up with, and, you know, again, I guess I'll have you send, your contact information to, Jan,
Yes.
and she can distribute it,
Okay, great.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Okay, we appreciate it. All right, moving on. We need Madam Clerk is gonna read a resolution to designate, will be to designate me as delegate to represent the village at the semi-annual meeting of the Municipal Electric Utilities Association on April 27th and 28th, 2016. Ma'am?
The MEUA Delegate Resolution 2016-13, whereas the mayor of the Village of Rouses Point, New York is a municipal member of the Municipal Electric Utilities Association of New York, and whereas the semi-annual meeting of the Municipal Electric Utilities Association of New York State has been called on April 27 and April 28, 2016, to be held at the Embassy Suites Hotel, 6646 Old Collimer Road, East Syracuse, New York, 13057, and whereas, in accordance with the bylaws of the Municipal Electric Utilities Association of New York State, each municipal member may cast one vote on each transportation properly brought before this meeting. Now therefore be it resolved that Mayor Daniel H. Paterno be and is hereby designated as the accredited delegate of the Village of Rouses Point, New York, at the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rouses Point, New York, held on April 18. The following resolution was adopted.
We need a motion to adopt that resolution, naming me as the delegate to the ME.
I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
Have a
Discussion?
roll call vote, please.
We need a roll call vote. Okay. Trustee Moore,
Aye.
trustee Mott,
Aye.
trustee Dart,
Aye.
trustee Arnold.
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, the next reading is a resolution of the 2016 budget modification resolution. I believe the treasurer is going to read that.
Whereas the Board of Trustees deems it advisable to make certain modifications to the 2016-17 tentative budget, be it therefore resolved that the budget officer is authorized and directed to make the following modifications to the tentative village budget for fiscal year 2016-17. The net result, account 599.05, you have an increase of appropriated fund balance of $20,151, and account 960.05 is an increase of appropriation for $20,151. What this is to correct a clerical error on the salary page. In the sewer fund, we had a part-time, our chief wastewater treatment plant operator was part-time, and now he has retired, but the hours were not increased to 20,080 hours for full-time, so this is to make up for that clerical error.
Okay.
This is good.
So we need a motion accepting that budget modification resolution to correct that clerical error.
Make a motion for a modification.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
Do we need a roll call?
Roll call.
Okay, trustee Moore,
Aye.
trustee Mott,
Aye.
trustee Dart,
Aye.
trustee Arnold.
Aye.
Motion's carried. So the resolution is adopted. Next resolution is a water rate resolution. Mr. Treasurer?
Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rouses Point deems it necessary to amend the water rates to reflect current water department operations as follows. This is effective June 1st, 2016. The WC monthly industrial rate is $43,864 plus 45 cents per 1,000 gallons consumed. WC 2A monthly meter rate is $46 plus 55 cents per 1,000 gallons consumed. WC 1A flat rate, which is residential, is $46 per month. Outside the village, the monthly rates are double the above figures. Question for everyone, put to a roll call votes, and this is to reflect the rates that are in the tentative budget, which is a $2 increase for residential water users,
Okay, we need a
going from
motion to-
$44 to $46.
Okay, we need a motion to accept the resolution for the water rates increase.
Make a motion for a resolution for water rates.
Second?
Again, I'll second it.
Okay. Trustee Moore,
Aye.
trustee Mott, trustee Dart,
Aye.
trustee Arnold.
Aye.
We weren't gonna have any discussion on that item.
We certainly can. I guess it leaves me to vote. I will open it for discussion now before we conclude this.
Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Spoke a couple times with our treasurer, and he's given us, some advice that we have to watch those accounts pretty carefully because of the pending closure in the future of Pfizer. And where we've had increases in the past, he's recommended a small increase on the water side and the sewer side. And I would like to see those rates go up to a higher level. And I believe trustee Arno has some figures in front of him that will explain the revenue which it will generate that we can put in the account.
On the water, this year, we could raise it 5.7%, which is an $80 for the water.
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying. How much?
It's be a $6 increase in the water instead of a $2 increase.
I believe there has been some discussion about whether that would have a significant impact on servicing the debt that we currently have in the water, for our water bills. I believe that by the treasurer's estimation, he said it wouldn't. Personally, I think it puts an onerous burden jumping that, maybe not for the majority of people, but for some of our residents. A $6 increase, is something that some are gonna find distasteful. We all don't wanna pay more, but I think it also is hard for some of these people to meet all the increases all the way across. It's a gradual increase, and there may come a time, and I think probably we're looking at, if I read the right preparation, for what may come.
Later on goes down the road, yeah.
Exactly. But I don't think we can make it all up,
One shot.
in one shot. And I think, this is a modest, but, well, I think it's a significant increase of $2. And I think it was based on, in the formulation of the budget, on what the treasurer saw as sufficient to meet the next year's needs. And, if there's a catastrophic loss of revenue, when Pfizer closes, then we're gonna have to deal with it in probably more ways than just a rate increase. We're gonna have to find some new funding, new sources of revenue, and I don't think it all can come from raises. So my opinion is I think the $2 increase is sufficient.
What did we raise it last year?
9%,
19%.
19% last year. And this is nowhere near that 19%.
Raising it again this year.
Uh,
And Pfizer is still here, and we're still raising. I can understand preparing for it, but we don't need to start charging more now. Maybe I'm wrong on this, but
Well, the proposed budget would be 10%.
if they leave, what if they don't leave? We're gonna put it back down where it was?
I'm happy with $2,
yeah.
The old people in this village can't afford this.
Well, let me tell you, the water plant, we got a 62-year-old water plant. And ain't been a lot of, nothing done in that in a lot of years.
Let's not get off topic here. We're not talking about the water plant, we're talking about the water rates. I know it's related in some way,
Right.
but, there's gonna come a time for that discussion for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But, again, there's a lot of issues that go with that, and, the board should be prepared and hear all of those issues, first about that issue. Therefore, we can, in light of the fact that there was a procedural error in that the discussion was not permitted beforehand. I will ask that we once again take the roll call vote. A motion was made accepting the resolution at $2, seconded. We've had discussion. Is there any more discussion? Okay, so we're gonna repeat the roll call vote now following that. All right. Trustee Moore,
Aye.
trustee Mott,
No.
you do not support the $2 increase?
No.
Okay. Trustee Dart,
No.
trustee Dart.
Yes.
Mayor votes yes. Motion's carried. Okay, thank you. Since we have had no further public comment on, for the budget, we have a budget adoption resolution that we can do tonight and move that out of the way. So I will read that resolution. A resolution adopting a budget for the fiscal year commencing June 1st, 2016 and ending May 31st, 2017, making appropriations for the conduct of the village government and establishing the rates of compensation for officers and employees for such period. Whereas the Board of Trustees have met at the time and place specified in the notice of public hearing on the tentative budget and heard all persons desiring to be heard. Therefore, be it resolved that the tentative budget, as hereinafter set forth, is hereby adopted. The several amounts stated in the column entitled Final Budget Adopted in Schedule 1A through Schedule 2EE, together with the amounts set forth in the budget summary by fund found on page 4, are hereby appropriated for the objects and purposes specified. The salaries and wages stated in Schedule 6, pages 40 and 41 are effective June 1st, 2016 for all employees. The union employees' salaries and wages are negotiated through a signed labor contract with the Civil Service Employees Association Incorporated. So this resolution is to adopt the budget as has been presented to you. Do I have a motion to adopt this budget?
Have a motion to adopt it.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Trustee Moore?
Aye.
Trustee Mott?
Aye.
Trustee Dart?
Aye.
Trustee Arnold?
Aye.
Motion's carried. Budget's been adopted. Okay, we're going to open discussion again as we postponed it till this week on the D&H lease agreement. I think in your packets, one thing you do have is a copy, or a copy of an overhead view, or like a plot plan of the current railroad station museum. Those of you that are looking at this know that the planter boxes are not in there, and either is that ramp out front, and the trees on the south side are not planted, or the concrete in front of those trees on the south side of the station is mounted. Is that correct, Trustee Arnold?
Correct.
Okay. So, the lease, as we had it before, as we started to discuss, was for $1,200 a year, a 3% increase in the base rent each year during the term of the lease for a period of 10 years. The previous discussion was that leasing an additional 54 spaces for parking seemed like it was too large of an increase, and we didn't need that much parking. I believe some of you have done some research on this and have some comments on that now.
I feel we shouldn't, there's enough parking there for whoever goes and visits the railroad station now. Why lease for $1,200 a year with an increase of parking lot we don't really need, which everybody else parks there.
Presently now, even if that parking lot that would be leased to us, or that portion of the land that would be leased to us, if we, from what you guys have surveyed, or, went up and observed how many cars do you estimate could be parked on the existing land that we have if we did not install those planter boxes and that, that's a ramp, correct?
Right, yeah.
Do you have an estimate about how many cars we could park there?
I'd say about 9.
Well, and that includes handicap parking,
No, 2 handicap parking.
so an additional 2 handicap. I'd like to ask our administrator, do you know, have you discussed with the individual who wrote this grant, if we're required to put those planter boxes in that ramp in, or is that an option?
It does not. As far as the shrubs go, it does not include, it is not necessary.
Okay.
As far as the ramp, I'm not certain. Is there handicapped access on the back side?
Yeah.
I was thinking the track side.
On the track side, there's one in the back
Okay.
door.
Okay.
Okay, so most likely, that it's not, we're not required to have it, so the space would be available. Now, you live close to that location and you've been observing how cars parking in the parking area.
Yep. We have 18 cars that parked in there this morning from the railroad people, working down on the lower part of the track. And sometimes there's heavy equipment that goes in there.
For the railroad?
For the railroad. And not only that, I know Randy Bedard plows that and stuff, and the railroad told him that he has to have a right-of-way through there so the railroad can get through there. So why should we lease something that we have to take and keep clean for the railroad?
Question for y'all to consider.
Yeah, we got to clean it in the winter, now we don't.
No, we don't
We
have
don't
to.
plow it on the winter, all right? We'd have to if we leased it for them.
Yeah.
I don't see any sense of doing that.
Well, do you think that 9 parking spaces and 2 handicap, and there still is a handicap access, do you think that's sufficient to meet the needs of the museum? I mean, how
Street
often is the
parking.
museum open?
Yeah, different hours.
Yeah, they got different hours.
Only in the summer.
Is it only in the summer?
Only in the summer.
So for 3 months?
Yeah, I'd say about 3 months, yeah.
There's also the street parking
Yeah.
as well.
There is street parking available?
Yeah.
Mhm. Well, you heard, we reviewed the attorney's concerns and the things that he pointed out to us last time, and we needed to have the couple answers that we did have answered. The insurance question that came up, the village does have sufficient insurance that we wouldn't need additional general liability or automobile total value and property damage policies. We already have those in place, so that wouldn't be an issue. The issue would be paying the lease for 10 years, and a 3% increase in the base rent each year, maintaining the property during the winter time, paying the taxes, because even though as a municipality, if we owned it, we wouldn't have to pay taxes, but as a leasee, we would have to pay what taxes are normally levied against that, so we'd be paying taxes to ourselves and to other entities. And the only permitted use of this property is as a parking lot, according to this lease. And there was some discussion about if the museum wanted to have some kind of a field day or something, and have booths set up, things like that, they wouldn't be able to do it in the parking lot or put a tent up or things like that. So that's where we are on this. So the question is, does the board wish to proceed with this lease agreement or notify Delaware and Hudson Railroad Company that we're no longer interested in leasing it?
So you're no longer interested.
Originally, if I remember correctly, we were supposed to lease it with an option to buy it. And that's nowhere in this paperwork, so.
Was there a discussion about how long that lease was going to be before that option could be exercised? Or
I
no?
don't think so. Just-
Like 5 years or 3 years, or just was simply stated there? Well, we certainly could, rather than just shutting the door on it, we could ask for that option if you wanted that.
I don't think it's a good idea. I mean, if we don't have money to even pay the water bill, why even consider it? Just scrap the whole idea. You don't really need it. Who else are gonna sell it if they ever do sell it?
Well, the question is, then if the board, if that's the board's feeling, then you'll have to make a motion saying that, a motion to
Make a motion.
notify Delaware and Hudson Railroad that we will not be pursuing this lease.
Would like to make that motion?
We have a second? Okay, discussion, further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we will notify D&H of that decision. Okay, next item, review of policies. We're certainly not gonna read all of these policies, you've all had the opportunity to read them. They're available for the public to examine, there's one copy of each, available in front of the clerk. There was one issue, in particular, the alcohol and drug policy, and if you have that in front of you, you will see that on the last page of that policy, it says it refers to all employees. In other words, all employees would have to undergo drug testing. However, the entire policy prior to that deals with those employees with CDL and people who occupy safety-sensitive positions, operating other equipment. The very last page, the very last paragraph says, in summary, it is a policy of the Village of Rouses Point that all employees remain free of any drug and/or alcohol-induced impairments while on duty, refrain from the use of illegal drugs and/or alcohol while on duty, and while serving in a designated safety-sensitive position, undergo any drug